Icebreakers, as always, delivered by our friends over at DoorDash. And there is an intriguing, real intriguing new name at the top or near the top of your list, Frank. And that's Vlad Tarasenko out in St. Louis. Tell us what you know.
Yeah, so really interesting situation with Vladimir Tarasenko in that I think as everyone watched this year play out and he had a career season, 34 goals, 82 points, everyone might just assume at this point that everything's status quo. Well, in this case, with Vladimir Tarasenko and the Blues, he's never actually rescinded the trade request that was out there. And that's also, a lot different than what we just saw play out with Jake DeBrusk and the Boston Bruins, where he said, you know what, I'm good. I like it here. I've got my extension. We've changed coaches. All is copacetic. In this case with Tarasenko, he had a fantastic year leading the team in scoring with those 82 points. Yet he was just sixth among Blues forwards in ice time. And I think that also hurt. And when you compound that with the fact that he went through so much where they question his credibility, his integrity, his commitment to the team, going through that shoulder injury rehab process where they were like, does this guy even want to win? And all of a sudden we find out after the fact that really it was the Blues surgeon that botched those two shoulder surgeries. He gets a third surgery in Vail, comes back fully healthy and has the season, picks up right where he left off previous to the injury, just being the reliable sniper that he always has been. And in this case, now the Blues are in a spot where Tarasenko is now 1 year away from pending unrestricted free agency. He'd still like a change of scenery. He's going to be an expensive guy to re-sign, and he's not going to be re-signing there. So is this the moment in time as the Blues are beginning to discuss ways that they can create some salary cap flexibility? Is Tarasenko one? And the other name that was added to our trade targets board today is Torey Krug, a bit of a surprise, now just entering the third year of his $45 million deal that he signed with the St. Louis Blues. But I'm told that the Blues have gone through the process in the last few days of exploring what the trade market would look like for Torey Krug. He has a full no trade clause and completely controls the situation. There's no indication yet that Torey Krug has been approached about approving any sort of potential trade. I think they're trying to find out from the Blues end, where can we create that flexibility? How can we get the most value in return? And when you take a look at some of the guys out there, Tyler, that are power play specialists, there's a lot of them out there. Jason Barry in Edmonton is one. Krug in St. Louis is another. Tony DeAngelo in Carolina is yet another. So there's a few out there. And I'd guess that at a certain point, if teams like Pittsburgh can't re-sign Chris Letang, that there's going to be openings for some of these players to go other places. And that's the market that the Blues are looking into.
Yeah, and some other names as well that maybe aren't that traditional power play specialist. A guy like John Klingberg, Jeff Petrie in Montreal. It's really intriguing the amount of quality D-men who are available this year, both on the free agent, UFA, RFA, and also on the trade market. The guy who's near the top of your list is Alex DeBrincat, Frank. We talked about Miller earlier, but is there anyone maybe more likely to be dealt this weekend than Alex DeBrincat, or is he at the top of the list for a reason?
No, DeBrincat's at the top of the list for a reason. Look, it's really a matter of when and not if. The Blackhawks, his days are numbered, whether it's before the trade deadline or it's this week at the draft. There has been significant interest, I'm told, in Alex DeBrincat. Teams are stepping up. I'm told there's 4 teams at the moment that have put forth substantive and significant offers for Alex DeBrincat. I think that they're still receiving calls on him at this point for the 2-time 40-goal scorer. And when you look at it's still, a lot of people view this as a surprise of where the Blackhawks are heading with DeBrincat. And they look at his age and they say, well, isn't this exactly the type of guy that you'd like to keep? The answer is probably, but they're about to embark on a 4 to 5 year process. So throughout that stretch for a guy that's hit 40 goals twice, he's going to be expensive. He's got a $9 million qualifying offer due at the end of next season. So that's just an indication of how expensive he might be. On top of that, when they get to where they want to get to, he'll be sort of middle-aged, 29, 30 years old. Is that the type of guy that you want to be committing to? And for a team that you know isn't going to be good for the next number of years, why would you want to dole out that type of money to a guy like Alex DeBrincat? So that's the spot that they're in at the moment as they continue to field offers. It's a matter of if. It's a matter of when and not if for Alex DeBrincat.
Is it also a matter of when and not if when it comes to Jesse Puljujarvi? And to piggyback on that, a potential return for Edmonton, because we have heard Ken Holland doesn't want just draft picks for the guy. He wants immediate help on the roster. Is that a goal Holland can accomplish over the next 48 hours?
I think so. They're very active in those talks for Puljujarvi. I'm told that there are 6 to 7 teams that have been in the mix, and they've been all sorts of varying types of offers. Could they go out and get that draft pick that you're talking about, a second round pick? I think they probably could if they, push the right buttons at the end of the day. But that's not something that the Oilers are really interested in or intrigued by at the moment. I think they want another player who's in a similar type spot as Jesse Puljujarvi. Maybe who doesn't have necessarily the same type of pedigree or potential, but someone who has maybe hit a bit of a rut in his career and is in a spot where he could, bounce back and the Oilers could build up. And so part of it's also going to be stylistic fit as well as they look to move on. And as I mentioned with regards to Evander Kane, he could certainly be part of that as well to help entice the San Jose Sharks into any kind of settlement that might help speed up the process in order for the Oilers to keep Kane.
And we have seen reports from a few outlets that as many as 4 or 5 teams could potentially be interested in Puljujarvi. So
6 to 7, I'm told.
6 to 7, so even higher than that. So even though the Oilers aren't looking at any sort of a home run of a return, potentially a few options for Ken Holland to choose from. That's going to do it for another edition of Icebreakers delivered by our friends over at DoorDash. Promo codes at the bottom, DFODD, DFODDUS. Frank, I'm going back to the hotel room. I'm firing up the DoorDash after this and using that promo code. That's going to do it for today's edition of Icebreakers.